Good morning, Wabash. Giving today's chapel talk is Brent Noble. He is a native of Terre Haute, Indiana, and he was named the head swimming and diving coach at Wabash in October of 2013. Following a stint as the head women's swimming coach at a Division I Sacred Heart University. In total, he has held 15 different coaching jobs and has been a student coach at 8 different colleges and universities. He is also a 4-year swimmer, senior year captain, and all-conference performer at Eastern Illinois University. Giving his talk titled, As Advertised, Brent Noble.
Good morning, Wabash. It was suggested that I don't use the microphone, that I'm allowed enough on my own, so we'll see how this goes. But thank you for having me, Sphinx Club. Thank you for being here. Usually when I speak now, it's my team who has to be there, so it means a lot that you took some time out of your day, came to listen to what I have to say. So I didn't start coming to chapel talks until this school year. Just didn't understand the tradition yet, and so the talk Will Vasquez gave at the very beginning of the year was my first, and it's when I was shown a really good example of what's great about Wabash and a lot of the things here that are special. And those are things that I spend a lot of time trying to put into words when I recruit on the phone or sitting across my desk from recruits. I try to explain what's special and what's different here, but those become just words. I think to really be driven home, it has to be seen. And so that's what I'm talking to you about. I want to tell you about when I saw that and what that meant and how that it really has changed my life. As dramatic as that sounds, it has. So to back up, I grew up in Indiana. I'm from Terre Haute, not too far from here, but I really didn't know much about Wabash growing up. And so when I got into my college search, I didn't know what I should be looking for. I didn't know what I could expect to get from a college experience. I knew that I was going to college and I was going to get a degree, and I wanted to swim. And that's about as far as I looked. And so that led me to Eastern Illinois University, like Hezekiah said. And I was there for 4 years, and it was fine. Okay, my experience in college was fine. That's not bad, but it's not good enough, as I now understand. Okay, fine isn't really good enough. There are way too many options to settle for fine, and you didn't settle for fine because you came to Wabash. Right, so when I finished up with college, I decided that I should get a master's degree. And I loved swimming. I saw myself working in swimming one way or another for a career. So at IU, within exercise physiology, they have a famous research program centered around swimming. And it's named after a famous former coach there, and so that's where I decided I should be. And one thing to explain about me as a student up through that point is I was a good student, I made good grades, but I didn't really value the education I was getting. I didn't draw the connection between learning and preparing to be better. And I didn't fill in the blanks there. Okay, so for me, school was, we're going to get through, we're going to get a degree, probably do as little as possible to get that good grade and get the degree, and that was it. So in grad school, I was around students who saw education much differently than I did. I was in school with a lot of career academics who are now professors, and they went on, obviously, to get their PhDs from those programs. And I respected and admired the way they saw education. They wanted to learn. You know, they did every extra bit of work or study they could, and they went to every seminar and lecture they could because they wanted to understand better, and they wanted to better prepare themselves for teaching in the future. And while I admired that, I didn't really share that. So a really strong interest that I had, I'd done a little coaching of younger kids, but I thought that I might like to coach as a career. So when I got to Bloomington, I took a couple opportunities to be a swim coach. And one of them was a high school team. And so my first high school meet I coached at still is probably one of the most memorable days of my coaching career or my life in swimming. It was just a really fun day, I guess is the best way I could describe it. Everything about that was just really exciting for me. We ended up losing by 1 point, and it came down to the last relay. I just really enjoyed that meet, and so I stood on the deck and knew that I wanted to coach. That's what I wanted to do for a career. I realized it that day. And what that meant for me was a complete perspective change when it came to education. Because I now had something to work for, I had a goal to hold myself accountable. I wanted to be a better coach. And so education became for me a means to become a better coach. And so I sought out every little bit of information or bit of experience that I could to help myself prepare swimmers and to do better in that career I had chosen. So that led me to an opportunity I took starting my second year in grad school to be the assistant men's swim coach at DePaul. I know. So I went there, and I didn't know anything about Division III or liberal arts or DePaul at all, even though I had grown up 45 minutes away from that school. But I worked for a coach who was really passionate about those things, and he took me under his wing, and he showed me what that was all about, and was patient through me being naive about things. And pretty quickly, I developed some strong opinions at DePaul, as you might imagine. And one of the first was my personality didn't exactly fit that campus. I realized pretty quickly that the things I pride myself on weren't exactly the same as a lot of people there. And it made me realize that at least in the future, I needed to find a coaching job where I was going to be long term that did fit, that my personality did fit the personality of that campus. And students were choosing that school for the same reason I chose that school. So we all really, really felt like it was the perfect fit for us. And the second thing was, what wasn't really DePaul at all, it was liberal arts. Like I said, I didn't understand liberal arts, I didn't know what it was going in, but I had developed this new appreciation for academics and this new attitude towards it. So the idea that this was a curriculum based on learning and based on holistically improving yourself to be better at whatever you might end up doing versus just getting that piece of paper that says you're capable of doing this job really stuck with me. And I bought into that. I loved that. And one thing about me, when I like something and when I buy into something, I kind of go all out with it. And I didn't know anything about a lot of the schools we were competing against, but Division III really started speaking to me as well. I realized there were a lot of talented athletes, really, really motivated athletes. Okay, they weren't selling themselves short by becoming Division III athletes. That's where they wanted to be, and it was great. And they were talented, they were good. So I love that. One of the schools, the school I heard the most about down there, really, really caught my interest the most, was Wabash College. And the context of a lot of what I heard was derogatory, but I didn't take it that way. Okay, when people say, oh, those guys are really enthusiastic, thought that's great. I'm enthusiastic, of course, as a lot of you know. So I hear about Monon Week, as I called it back then. And people are saying, well, Wabash takes it a lot more seriously than we do. It's your rival. Anytime I've ever had a rival, I didn't care who knew that I wanted to beat them. It's a rival. Isn't that what it's for? So I didn't understand that perspective. I didn't understand why it was a brag that they didn't take it as seriously. So I secretly related with Wabash on that one. And the week came, and I'm seeing all of this enthusiasm, like we talked about, from Wabash while I'm down on campus. I'm hearing about guarding campus and how we have to watch out because they might come and do things to the DePaul campus, and they keep painting this bridge near Greencastle. And I'm saying, yeah, those things. But I'm thinking, that's really great school spirit, and I've never gotten to be a part of something like that, and that sounds like so much fun. I was a little bit jealous of that. So Wednesday of the Monon Bell week came, and back then on that Wednesday it was the swimming dual meet. between DePaul and Wabash. And so it was up here that year. So I drove up, I met the team by myself, and MapQuest led me to the back of campus. I came to the Allen Center from the back of campus. And I'll share with you my first thought on campus. This is a total side note, so if there's one thing you take away from this talk, please do not let it be this. But the first building I really saw was Lambda Chi, and I looked at Lambda Chi and I thought, I bet the DePaul girls really like to come to parties at this house. I don't know why that came into my head at all, and I don't know why I've hung on that, but anyway, moving on. That's what I thought. So I walk into the Allen Center, and I was jealous. I was jealous of the Allen Center, and I don't think this is something we talk about or think about enough on this campus, but the Allen Center is really, really nice, and it's really well kept, and that was my first reaction there. And so I actually saw the whole place because I couldn't find out how to get onto the pool deck. And I was helped onto the pool deck by a custodian. He just unlocked the door, let me on. No one was there. The DePaul team showed up shortly after. And so we started our warm-ups. Still no Wabash team. Their coach was bopping around a little bit, but about halfway through the warm-up, music comes on, really, really loud. And this is 2010. In 2009, bodysuits were outlawed in competitive swimming. The full bodysuits that a lot of people broke records in 08 and 09 were no longer legal at this point. So the Wabash guys pile out of their team room while we're warming up in the pool in bodysuits dancing. They're just dancing. And I said something like, why are they doing that? They're not focusing. That's really silly. I don't understand. But I was thinking, they look like they're having a great time, and they're getting really fired up. And I do understand that. And they're enjoying their time here, ready for this meet. It's important. And so meet came closer. They took the bodysuits off. They finished their warm-up right before the meet started. And they were fired up. They came out. They actually upset DePaul in the first few events, and they swam really well. They were excited. And the whole meet, I was just taking everything in. And I had always had this maybe utopian view of a college swim team where everyone was so family-like and close, and that included alumni, and you were just all in this together completely. And that looked great to me. And looking across the pool, I saw that, but what was really surprising to me was it wasn't a Wabash swimming thing, it was a Wabash thing, just completely a Wabash thing. You know, it's unheard of, especially during the week in a dual meet, for there to be more students than parents in the stands, and Wabash did that easily that night. They also packed the stands with alums, faculty, staff, administrators, community, people from the community. They had these guys dressed up as the mascot, which I didn't understand at all, but they were really loud, and I thought that was cool. They had guys down on the pool deck wearing these red hats with no bills, and I spent 3 years trying to figure out what that meant, but they were crazy. And I thought that was really great. There were alums on deck helping out coaching. I heard that one of them drove several times a week from Indy to be a volunteer assistant. All of these things were really impressive to me. It really kind of blew me away that that was happening at this school. And so the meet ended, and I left out the front doors. Remember, I came in the back doors by Lambda Chi House. And so I didn't know where my car was or how to get to my car, and I was following the stadium around, and I ended up right back here at Campus Services, and I found a security guard, and I explained where I thought my car was, and he said, oh yeah, you're just right across the stadium. And so I knew that Wabash guarded their campus during Mon on Bell Week. And so I started to walk around. He said, oh, no. Just go on across the stadium. You're fine. Just walk right across. The lights are on. So I don't make it out of the end zone, and a half dozen Wabash students run out of the bleachers with eggs in their hand. So I throw my hands up. I say, you know, I'm head to toe in DePaul gear, which I don't have anymore. But I put my hands up, and I say, I was just coaching the swim meet, and I'm looking for my car. I'm not going to do anything. And what really, really shocked me about the encounter was they totally switched gears. They became very respectful. One of them walked up and shook my hand. They said, okay, You're fine. Just go onto your car, go around the W, please. So I did. And I sent a text that I remember on my way off the field as I was walking around the W. And I said, I commented on the meet. I said that it was a pretty interesting experience on the Wabash campus. I said that I had just been tricked by a security guard into almost being egged by students. And I said, and I remember this word for word because it was a really big deal that I was thinking this, and I was honestly a little ashamed by it, but not really. I said, Wabash is kind of awesome, don't tell anyone. And this is me, the DePaul assistant swim coach, saying that. So I got into my car and I reflected on all of that as I drove back to Bloomington that night. And I knew already that I needed to find a school where the personality fit me, where students were going and fitting there for the same reason I would fit there. A school that would bring out things in me that I really like, things that I want brought out. And I realized that was Wabash that night. I realized that Wabash did that for me, just in that one night there, my first impression of Wabash. And so I carried that, and the problem with that is I was 24 years old, a grad student, and the assistant coach at DePaul. So I couldn't call up admission and say, hey, Alex Mosman, I'm going to send in my deposit, and I want to come to Wabash. I was way past that. So I became jealous of the swim coach who was here. I became jealous that he got to be the coach at Wabash, and he got to have this job that I thought was perfect for me. And I carried that as I went off, and I went to a few different places after that coaching, and my realization that I needed to find a place where the personality fit me only grew. I knew that I had to feel great about recruiting. I had to sit across from recruits and be 100% honest and clear when I say, I think this is a great place to go. I wanted to be able to sleep at night and look at myself in the mirror and know that I was doing right by them. And I knew that Wabash was a place where I could do that. I knew that I believed in Wabash that way. And it was a little surprising to me because I thought I was going to have this coaching career where I just went off and went as far as I possibly could in Division I and chased prestige and did all of that. But I realized the more experience I got, remembering this place, that it was going to be about the school I was at, much more than the prestige there. Okay, it was going to be about me fitting there, which of course is something that I want recruits to realize, and admissions probably wants all of the students they recruit to realize. So that coach I had been jealous of took another position in 2013. Window was open, and so here I am. And now I'm on campus a lot more than just the Wednesday before the Blown-on Bell game. But I really know who Wabashmen are now, after spending the last 16 months with you. I know that you're here because you're passionate, enthusiastic, competitive, respectful, considerate, motivated, because you're different. I know those things. And I know that Wabash is different. The things I try to say, explain why Wabash is different, I know it's because of who you are. And I know what that looks like at its best. So all of us here had our first impressions of Wabash. And luckily for us, there was something, maybe it wasn't all like mine, but there was something that we related to and that we saw there, we identified with. Those things that drew us here, the biggest things that are important here, are appealing to people. Okay, people will like those things when they see them, if they see them, and we got to. I think that the more people who know who Wabash really is, the more people who think really highly of Wabash. I do think that. And so it's about representing ourselves, right? It's about how we show who we are. If I had seen any negativity that night when I came up here, it would have been easy to carry with me. You know, I wasn't coming here to be impressed, and no one was trying to impress me by any means. So it would have been really easy for me to see something negative and just carry it on. You know, maybe 10 years down the road, I'm coaching somewhere else. Somebody mentioned Wabash. I said, yeah, I coached their rival, Wabash, whatever. That would have been easy, but that's not how it worked for me, okay? Fortunately. Fortunately, it's really easy to be enthusiastic, which is what I related to the most during Bell Week. But we don't only have people around here. We don't only make impressions during Bell Week. Okay, we make impressions off campus, on campus, Tuesday mornings, whenever. So my challenge to you this morning is to allow everyone to know how great you are individually. And think about what that means. And that's not a Wabash thing. It's not only a Wabash thing. It's for you. It's about representing yourself. It's applicable to anything you do. Okay? If you say you're something, be that person. Of course, it does relate to Wabash because we're representing Wabash. In Indiana, most people now have heard a Wabash alum say something like, Wabash is really great, and talk about their wonderful experience at Wabash. It happens all the time. I hear about that all the time. And they are being good representatives, but those, without seeing it lived out, those are words. And so, again, the challenge is living it out, because I want people to know those words are true. I want the best athletes everywhere to know that Wabash is a place where you can come with students just as competitive as you, with just as much motivation and working just as hard as they are. And I want the best leaders to know that Wabash is a place where they can lead and get that experience, and they can work alongside guys who have every bit of the motivation they have and want to do everything, have the same ambition. I want the best students to know that Wabash is a place where they can be challenged and be a part of a culture that will really, really help them develop. I want people who didn't go to Wabash to realize, like I did that Wednesday night, that they wish they had gone to Wabash. I want people to know who Wabash really is. Because aren't you tired of having to justify going to Wabash to your friends? I mean, I hear, oh yeah, I tell my friends that it's not that bad. Not that bad? Of course it's not that bad. You know that. Your friends should see that out of you, okay? It shouldn't be hey man, Wabash isn't bad. They should be asking more about Wabash because they're seeing how it's changing you. So, to wrap it up, I gave you this title as advertised, honestly, because I wasn't really sure how I was going to package this all up and deliver it to you, so I needed to have something pretty open-ended. But it ended up working out really well, because as a recruiter, also in admissions, I am always going to advertise Wabash as a place where men are different, are unique, are motivated, okay, are more driven and focused than other places. Okay, that's the way I'm going to advertise this place, because it's true, I believe that. But I think it has to be seen, just like I said before. So if I'm sitting in my office with a recruit and his family, and I say, this is the place for you to really develop yourself and to be around like-minded guys who are just as motivated and as ambitious as you, blah, blah, blah. That's all it is, blah, blah, blah. If they go out onto the mall and they see two guys who maybe just finished a really tough test and it's a Tuesday morning and they're at their worst and they're not representing Wabash, I can't say, time out, come back Friday. You'll see Wabash better on Friday. It doesn't work like that because their first impression was already made. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. We do talk a big game here. I talk a big game about Wabash. So we have to back it up. When I sat in my car that night, I realized, that Wabash is a place where parts of me that I was proud of could really grow and prosper. And in some way, at least, on some level, you had that same conversation with yourself. Okay? So, because of that, because of you knowing you're coming here, 18-year-old you was coming here to bring out the best parts of you, you have an obligation to yourself to be that person, to hold yourself to that standard. So what I'm asking you, Wabash, is be who I'm advertising you to be all the time. Be who you came here to be, always. Thank you.
All right, Wabash. This weekend, tennis is at home starting at 9 a.m. Track is away, going to destroy Rose Holman. And basketball is home at 2. Career Services is holding a Suits and Strikes event this weekend. Be sure to check that out on Handshake. Please rise and sing Old Wabash. Da-da-da.